Do you believe there is a white genocide being perpetrated against particularly white farmers in South Africa?
No doubt. No doubt about that. No one can run away from the truth. And it was high time that I know that certain things had to be seen.
And these statistics, you may not accept them, but the police statistics just do not suggest that there is anything like that going on. Where are you getting your information that there is a white genocide?
Which is such a pathetic insult to law in South Africa for anyone, and I'm not only talking about Mr. Ramaphosa, the whole ANC, to even suggest that that is not something that's totally criminal. That's what happened. He was forced to just accept that he's guilty.
Guys, so I've been away actually traveling, giving speeches. I've actually been in a panel, trying to analyze, democracy in Africa and all of that. And so last week we were in Helsinki and another city in Finland anyway, and also in Sweden, just giving these talks about how to help African democracy and also to get the democracy in Africa to be a bit more resilient. And I was mostly talking about the youth, in Africa, and the role the youth actually has to play to strengthen democracy in Africa. And so that's why it seems that I've been disappearing, but there's a lot to talk about, a lot of videos I have on my plate to make. I'm still in contact with Ernst Rust, who's actually, we are cooking, and soon we'll be having a podcast on this channel. There's so much to talk about. The whole media has gone haywire as regards this whole white refugees, Afrikaner, white genocide in South Africa and all of that. I mean, this topic with the Afrikaners in South Africa has helped me understand the clash between the left and the right in terms of media in the US, and why, it appears sometimes that Donald Trump goes crazy when he tries to lambast the media in South Africa, in the US. I've really always struggled why, the thing about the media makes him go really crazy. You could actually already see how he he was already insulting somebody during the meeting between Ramaphosa and Trump. There was I don't know what channel, what media station that was anyway, but you saw him go haywire, really angry at that reporter asking a question. I think it was a question about Saudi Arabia giving the US planes while they were in the midst of a discussion about Afrikaner murders and all. So he got really grand. For me, for a long time, I've always wondered why Trump gets angry with the media in the United States. But I think this Afrikaner issue, this whole thing with farm murders in South Africa has helped me understand. So we'll be taking some of those videos, analyzing how the US is actually breaking down this whole thing with Afrikaners in South Africa, and also some videos from home. But I think today I'll be analyzing different portions of Piers Morgan's uncensored debate, where he actually interviewed Oscar Pistorius' father. Oscar Pistorius is actually this story that really shocked all of us when it came out about, the allegedly convicted athlete who was actually alleged to have murdered his girlfriend and all. In this video with, Piers Morgan, he's actually arguing that the courts in South Africa, actually he puts it in a really interesting way that really even got me really surprised. He actually said that, Oscar Pistorius was forced to accept that he's a murderer. And he's really angry with the judicial system in South Africa, the justice system in South Africa, that even though Oscar Pistorius in prison actually has accepted his fate, the father is actually questioning that faith and arguing that, Oscar Pistorius, his own son, is not guilty for what he has been charged for by the court. And so this is a really interesting one. When he was asked about, if there's a white genocide in South Africa, he says there's no doubt that what is happening in South Africa, he calls it a genocide. And this is from him. He's actually speaking up, that Piers Morgan was trying to bring up in Senzum Chunu's report recently about the statistics of farm murders, and he was actually arguing that, you know, in South Africa, it's difficult to trust the South Africa's police reports. He actually argued that it's a little bit more, it's kind of like criminal and all of that. And so these are actually the wings. So I think it was within this discussion that Piers Morgan actually wanted to get into his mind to analyze, you know, from the perspective that this whole thing that blacks are actually blaming the whites for, you know, this lack of having access to the land, that whatever is happening to him now, especially during the time of his son's alleged murder, so to speak, could actually be framed around a racialness or racial bias on his own part as a white South African. So Piers Morgan had a really set of interesting questions, and when he now gave us a deep insight into the conditions with Oscar Pistorius, I think Oscar seems to still be in prison, allegedly. I'm not yet, I have to do my research on that, but, you know, he actually spilled out the beans that, you know, Oscar is still angry with him, and Oscar won't even talk to him, you know, after this thing, because from the father's perspective, his son is innocent. But from the son's perspective, the son himself is guilty. And so how to reconcile those clashes? Because the father thinks that the court in South Africa or the judicial system in South Africa has forced his son to accept something he did not do. And the father was trying to break those down in this video. I think it's a really interesting one. You guys would enjoy. So let's quickly watch Oscar Pistorius try to break down and analyze why he thinks that, you know, what is happening in South Africa is a genocide against white farmers in South Africa, and what really are the details now behind what's going on in the sentencing of his son for allegedly, you know, murdering his girlfriend, as at the time when it was reported, when he was active as an athlete, a South African athlete. And share your thoughts in the comments.
South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has sensationally told President Trump to mind his own business and defended the right of his political rivals to chant "kill the Boer" about white farmers.
That slogan, "kill the Boer, kill the farmer," is a liberation chant and slogan. And it's not meant to be a message that elicits or calls upon anyone to go and be killed. And that is what our court decided. So they will probably want to arrest people willy-nilly. We follow the dictates of our Constitution.
It comes after President Trump interrupted last week's meeting with Ramaphosa to play a video of the opposition firebrand Julius Malema chanting "kill the Boer" at stadium rallies.
And I have other friends in South Africa, I have people that left, one in particular that says you can't go there. He said they want to take your land, they take your land and they kill you. These are burial sites. Each one of those white things you see is a cross. There's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers. These are articles over the last few days. Death, 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 horrible death.
Well, for that, President Trump wants Malema to be arrested, but Malema's party said yesterday that the chant will be a key part of his campaign in the next round of elections. Trump's recent decision to grant refugee status to white South Africans and to call the murder of white farmers in the country a genocide has sparked a week of debate about what is really going on. In a moment, I'm joined by a panel. First, Henke Pistorius is the father of convicted, now released murderer Oscar Pistorius and the boss of one of South Africa's oldest agricultural businesses. He's accused the ANC government of failing to protect white people and says he's had enough. I'm joined now by Henke Pistorius. Mr. Pistorius, thank you for joining Uncensored.
My pleasure, thank you.
Obviously, there's a big debate raging about whether there is a white genocide being waged. Donald Trump, President of the United States, believes that there is. He's been led to believe that by prominent white South Africans. Do you believe there is a white genocide being perpetrated against particularly white farmers in South Africa?
No doubt. No doubt about that. And unfortunately, it is not any farmer is in a position where he can rely on the kind of protection he's supposed to be able to rely on from authorities, from police.
But what do you base the idea, the notion of a white genocide on?
Well, just have to look at the figures and compare the figures of murders among white farmers with any group internationally, and you see for yourself where that fits in.
Well, I'm looking at the figures for last year, for example. Well, I'm looking at the figures for last year: 26,232 murders in South Africa, according to the South African Police Service figures. Of those, 44 were killings of people within the farming community, and of those, only 8 were actual farmers. I mean, that doesn't sound, on the face of it, anything like a genocide of white farmers, does it?
Well, I don't know about that figures you have.
Well, they're the official police figures for murders in South Africa.
Well, police figures is police figures, and they certainly do have a agenda to protect. So I would not. I would advise you not to rely on that 100%.
Okay. What did you think of President Ramaphosa's visit to the Oval Office, and in particular the way that Donald Trump presented suddenly out of nowhere this video evidence to him?
No one can run away from the truth. And it was high time that I know that certain things had to be seen and had to be accepted and had to get direct answers from President Ramaphosa. And if he was not aware, as he stated he was not, then that reflects extremely badly on himself and on the ANC.
But you've had a lot of people since that Oval Office encounter queuing up to say they do not believe there is any kind of white genocide. And these statistics, I mean, you may not accept them, but the police statistics just do not suggest that there is anything like that going on. Where are you getting your information that there is a white genocide?
Well, if you want to get the correct figures, you should speak to organizations like AfriForum and the people that really present the interest of white farmers, farmers in general, but white farmers in particular.
You know, I think Elon Musk, and you've spoken to Elon Musk, he has said publicly that Starlink is not available in South Africa because of his skin color, that he was told it couldn't happen because he's a white man. Have you spoken to him about this?
Well, I haven't spoken to Elon about it, but I have said to him, I am finding now with our Moringa strategy, which will make huge differences in sub-Saharan Africa, and which could create by 2035, 36, up to $1 trillion in carbon credits. Now, that kind of money available to sub-Saharan Africa for rural enterprise development or for structural development is mind-blowing. But that is the facts. That is what can be available. And the support one gets to put these kind of projects in motion is unfortunately very, very bad. And because of your skin. And they quickly ask you, what percentage do you have black representation? And you look at companies, wonderful companies in South Africa, who has been brought down to their knees because of the black empowerment that they've introduced in their boardrooms. One of them are EOH, a diversified company, one of the front runners, one of the champions of South African economy 3, 4, 5 years ago, and they have suffered billions of rands. You don't have any retention after that.
The big debate raging today, actually, has been this ongoing issue of the chant about killing the Boers, killing the farmers, which Ramaphosa insisted is not meant to be a message that elicits or calls upon anyone to be killed, but seems on the face of it to be exactly that. What is your view of that chant?
Clearly, I cannot even imagine how one can start thinking that way. It is clearly a call to total anarchy when you have uncontrolled criminality and murderous people, which unfortunately should have been exposed to a wonderful education program and schooling program in the last 25 years. Instead of that, they have squandered billions and didn't do the job. And for anyone, and I'm not only talking about Mr. Ramaphosa, the whole ANC, to even suggest that that is not something that's totally criminal. And you can ask any responsible leader from anywhere in the world, especially in the West, where personal rights has a higher value, what they think about that, and you'll have the same answer.
As you know, the argument against you that's come back your way, and it's been raging since the trial of your son Oscar, is that you are racist yourself, and that is why you feel these things, and that your attempt to bring race into the possible reasons why Oscar was convicted is illustrative of the fact that you are a racist. How do you respond to that?
Now, everybody knows how much I enjoy my tea, and I'm very happy to say that today's show is sponsored by Peak's Pure Fermented Teas. These are not your average brews. They're sourced from 250-year-old wild trees in the Himalayan foothills, which are untouched by modern farming. No pesticides, no fertilizers, just nature at its best. Pure delivers a full spectrum of prebiotics, probiotics and postbiotics, just like the fermented foods found in longevity hotspots. It comes in crystal form, so there's no messing around. Just dissolve, sip, and feel the difference. It's trusted by health experts, including Casey Means and Dr. Mark Hyman. There's teas for all occasions, and they all support your gut health, metabolism, and cellular renewal. The next time you put the kettle on, ask yourself, is my tea working as hard as me? Peak's Pure Fermented Teas. For the gut of a Brit and the longevity of a Himalayan monk, get 20% off for life, plus a free frother and glass beaker with the Pure Bundle. Visit peaklife.com/Piers. That's peak, P-I-Q-U-E, life.com/Piers.
What my opinion is has nothing to do with racists. It's got to do with very poor judicial representation, number one, incompetent, and number two, of dishonest behavior of state prosecutor. And we will get to that. Oscar is just now in a stage where he's on parole, and he doesn't agree with me at all. In fact, he wouldn't talk to me about it because he disagrees with me. I just think that he will feel later to walk away after the parole as a person guilty of manslaughter versus a person guilty of murder is two vastly big things. And Oscar is not guilty of murder. If you wish, I can take a minute and give you the facts why it's totally impossible for him to be found guilty of murder.
But I mean, he was convicted of murder. He was found guilty of murder. Are you saying that verdict was unsafe?
Clearly. He was found guilty of manslaughter twice, and the prosecutor has misled the whole court and have lied to the court. And I will get to that. I don't want to say too much now. Oscar will be very cross with me because he does not agree with me, and that is it. But the facts say different. I have been at a function less than a year ago, 2 years ago, where probably the leading judge in South Africa came to me and said to me, Henke, you wouldn't believe how much I thought about you and your family in the last 8, 9 years. You must have gone through extreme tension and fairness. And I said, well, then we must speak. And we had a discussion. I had a discussion with other judges as well. And the fact is that, in short, if you want to move from manslaughter to murder, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. I'll give you just one example. There's 4. One reasonable doubt that the person who's accused had the intention to kill. Now, if the gun that was received back, and as part of the facts of court, had 13 rounds left in it, and why do you use only 4 if your intention was to kill? So immediately there's something that you do not know, and that squash anything that's got to do with beyond reasonable doubt.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, look, hang on a second. If you use four bullets and you kill somebody, why do you need to use any more? Reeva Stankip was killed.
Well, you clearly do not have the facts. There only 4 bullets were used, but it was through a door in a grouping as big as a brick. Now, the state want to claim, or did claim, that he want to kill someone behind the door, somewhere behind the door. How do you know what does your bullets do when 4 goes through a door below 1 meter? Who tries to kill when you shoot below 1 meter? Below 1 meter in a grouping as big as a brick, and court want to maintain you wanted to kill someone somewhere behind the door. Hey, it's no brainer.
So what do you think happened?
Obviously, Oscar was full of fear, and Oscar will one day tell his story. He is, at the moment, I'm sure, very sad and very sorry about what happened. I can't speak for him. He will speak for himself. But what happened is not what came out of the court. And I am one of hundreds of people that will say that this case will stand as a very negative example of jurisdiction of justice in South Africa.
I mean, I can think of some people who will not feel... Well, I can think of some people who won't feel that way, and that's the family of Reeva Steenkamp.
Yeah, I can't talk for them, and that is true. That is true. But I'm already in trouble with Oscar as I'm sitting here because I said too much. But that is the facts. The facts of the case say that there is no way that you can prove or say, if you force him, and that's what happened. He was forced to just accept that he's guilty. And that he's a murderer, which is such a pathetic insult to law in South Africa. But that is what happened. And he's been hurt and broken, and that's what he believes now, that he's guilty. And it's not correct. I will stand by it, whatever happens. And if people are cross with me, let it be. The facts say something totally different. And I'm prepared to, I had an offer to have a one-on-one debate with Gerrie Nel live on TV, and I would love it. Gerrie Nel will probably not accept it, but then the reasons are quite clear why.
Do you speak to Oscar regularly?
No, we don't, because he knows how I feel, and to him, he's guilty of murder. And because of the process that he's gone through, anybody that has had such a mauling, I mean, here you have a guy, Oscar's just an athlete. He wants to be an athlete, and that's what he had done for 10 years. Here he is faced with a guy called the Bulldog by the press, and he's nothing else but that. And it is so unfair to leave him exposed to a guy like that. I would love to have a one-on-one with Gerrie Nel. The same rules as in the court. I ask the questions, you can just say yes or no. Hey, see if you will accept that, please.
When was the last time you spoke to Oscar?
Earlier this year.
So he has come to terms with believing that he was guilty as charged with murder, but you're refusing to accept that, and it's that that's caused the rift between you.
That is what caused the rift between us. The facts just do not support finding of guilty of murder.
Mr. Pistorius, fascinating to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed for your time.